let me get going here. Okay, you're good.
I am Jesse Art.
I'm Joseph Roberts. I'm Ryan Bushkin. And I'm Justin Smith.
We are not so good, and we are here to tell you about Japanese knotweed. So Japanese knotweed is an invasive species. You probably know what that means, but I'll explain it just in case. It is a species that is not native to the area where it is, and so there's a delicate balance between the different creatures, plants, animals in the ecosystem, and when a new factor comes in, it can mess everything up, take over, and ruin the diversity in that region. And Japanese knotweed came from Japan, came to America in the 1800s, and has recently been spreading quite a bit. It is unique amongst other invasive species, though, since it has a human risk, I guess you could say. It grows anywhere. It grows straight through foundation and asphalt, which can lower property values, do structural damage, hurts communities, it saps resources, and it grows in giant dense thickets, removing all other life in that region, just knotweed wherever it grows.
Okay, the effects of it. Well, back in New Buffalo, we have a good, decent number of knotweed in our area. At Renimax, there's a bunch in the back, and it pretty much grows in thick bushes and like big, giant like areas. And it can, for construction workers, it can increase the price because they have to spend more money to remove it. And it pretty much just impedes the progress of a lot of projects moving forward. And like he said, it can cause property damage because it can break through foundation and end up growing 14 to 20 feet up, depending on what kind of Japanese knotweed it is. Yeah. And basically, since it's so thick around rivers, it can block off water access to certain animals, and it's pretty much just really bad for the environment due to it not having any predators here, because in Japan it has over 300 insects that actually eat it, but here there's none, so we have to take it out, which can be very costly.
Can I intercede there?
Yeah.
We say it's like expensive to remove. It's also a big problem in England, and when the 2012 London Olympics were being, the areas were being built, the stadiums were being built, they had land that they wanted to build a stadium on that had a bunch of knotweed in it. The removal cost $94.5 million. That is an insane amount of money to get rid of some plants. Alright, it is his turn next.
Alright, the solution to the problem, what we really want to hit on is just educating people, because before it's hard to stop it. 4 to 5 years spraying and another 3 years of watching to make sure it doesn't come back. The root systems are very heavy. They can grow 40 feet wide and 20 feet deep. And if the plant feels threatened, it'll go down into the root system and it can live up to 20 years. So you shouldn't cut it, because cutting can spread it. You can't cut it, you can't burn it, and that's another issue with lawn care companies, who we were trying to educate through our COP project, because they'll cut it and they'll put it in their compost piles, or they'll put it in their areas and take that dirt and compost piles to other properties, and their mowers carry it and take it other places, and it spreads it from property to property, and that's dangerous for them, and it's awful for the homeowners that have to deal with the property damage. You can use any herbicide to rid of it, spraying once a year for 5 years. And our COP project was almost like a nature walk that we started at the library with 24 people, which was in the paper as well, so we had it advertised. We went to a restaurant, Renimax, that Justin had mentioned, and it's a thick monoculture in the back by the parking lot, starting to grow into the asphalt. we got permission from the 2 restaurants, which is Pizza Hut and Redimax, next to each other, to start spraying with our teacher who has a license for it with the state of Michigan. So we're going to spray with herbicide, so that's what we're going to do for the next 4 years.
And by using the Misten app, we learned and showed the public how to identify the Japanese knotweed and also 5 other invasive species in the facility.
Yeah, the prevention, which I went over again, is just, before it happens, is just educating people on not moving it and not letting it succeed and get further into the other areas where it's not at already.
Yeah, because it's very common for people to mistake it for a different sort of plant, because it can be very similar to other weeds, and they'll just cut it down, which can help spread it around in a bigger, longer area, which makes it tougher to get rid of it all.
We want to make sure that the public can identify what it is, so when they see it, they realize the danger and they can properly remove it before it grows too much. Since when it gets out of control, it's hard to get rid of. We need to teach landscaping companies, really any company that's involved with lawn work, about it and how to avoid spreading it even more. There's a nice picture here. This is an early growing monoculture of knotweed. It has not grown very tall yet, but you can see already it's like a whole yard.
You know, then you're
That could be very expensive to get rid of. So last year, we went to a presentation about knotweed at a local library, and we were interested about it. So we educated ourselves, and we did some work spreading it. Mainly we put up flyers around town, telling people about knotweed and identification. This year we decided to take it further. Like you mentioned, we held a nature walk at our library. We got, I think it was 24 people at the library, and we brought them around town on a walk to try and find knotweed after a presentation that we did. And these are from the presentation. These are some fact sheets and pictures to help identify. Everybody got one. We had an expert on invasive species come and talk. We actually did find a patch near the local restaurant, Redimax, that we can be working to remove in the next 4 to 5 years, probably a bit longer of watching it. We can work to remove that, which is a very large patch. I think it was over 100, 220, yeah, that's a lot of plant, and the only plant in that region.
And we got permission from the owner of the restaurant
Yeah.
to come onto the property for the next 4 to 5 years, however long it takes to eradicate this invasive species, and inject it with the as that they showed us, they were being demonstrated, and we'll be using that to slowly eradicate it properly.
And we taught the people how to use an app made by Misten, the Michigan Invasive Species Information Network. You can use it to report invasive species you see in the area. Because especially with Japanese knotweed, the average person can't go and get rid of it. It's kind of a bit more specialized. So you can report where it is and then give that information to people who have better resources to deal with it.
Yeah, so over the next year, we're going to be going around telling people about Misten and trying to really get people to focus, because the more they mark it, they'll see that, and if there's a lot of marks in one area, they'll come over and try to remove it as they can.
And we want to stress that it's very important to just locate any invasive species, especially knotweed, and a lot of the top 10 that we've learned about so far. It's important to help Misten locate a lot of it, more than just Japanese knotweed.
Alright, so in conclusion, the only way to win this battle against the Japanese knotweed is awareing the public, educating the public, holding these nature walks, printing these flyers, explaining how to not only identify but eradicate this invasive species in our community, which is sadly the community of its property values over time. I mean, like they said, it feels danger, it can go into dormancy up to 20, 25 years. I've seen it personally in my community, affecting the drainage ways. It destroys it, and people spread it without knowing what they're doing. So by educating the public in our community, which we have been doing, we are slowly going to defeat this invasive species and bring balance.
And I'd like to mention road work. If any of you are from Michigan, we have road work every year that makes it worse. It grows up through roads, which can make that worse and slower. So that's the conclusion.
Great.
Thank you all.
Those are some sources if you want to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, we've got question and answers.
I wanted to ask with regard to the herbicide that your professionals are using for control.
Mm.
It
What
can,
is it?
it can really be any herbicide. It's not super specific. You would generally spray it or inject it into the plant. I think
If we're spraying, the one thing we want to focus on is we're not near any water or anywhere where anybody's gonna be at all, so.
it's less about like the specific herbicide. That's not too hard. It's just the time it takes to get rid of it. Because it takes years, you have to keep on checking on it, and it grows over a large area. That's a lot of herbicide to use.
Conservation provides it in the form.
So it's not a specific type. A garden variety herbicide can probably do it.
This is your second time, first time, presenting for all of you, or?
This is my
It's
first
your
time. This is my
first
first time
time.
here.
Your first time, okay.
Change up with the group.
All right, super. Well, you can relax now. I know this is really stressful to try to do this the way the computer went, so you did very well with all of the hiccups you had here. Did you have cost incurred in what you've done with your project so far?
I think we have it listed on the COP.
Okay.
I don't think it costs.
We haven't spent a lot, it's mostly just been,
Spread.
So the 350 that you've got in your written.
yeah.
is what you've spent.
So far, all we've spent on is, we had, our school held an ideas fair, and we spent money on just like the flyers that we handed out.
Maybe
And-
I didn't
yeah.
hear.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like we had like 24 people and they show up. We reached like 200 students from the Ideas Fest. And all the students attended, and a lot of members of the community. We held a presentation on it there too.
Did you get a good response from the community?
We did. A lot of people, we helped download Missing on their
Yeah.
phones, and so.
Yeah, I got to personally talk to a lot of people from our community and, spread the awareness because that's the main issue with.
Very
Passed out
cool, I
quite a
have my
few.
own account.
What surprised me the most at the library holding the presentation was that there's so many people that wanted to know more about it, or had seen it or heard about it, just wanted to be educated. And that surprised me, how many people were actually interested in it.
And who are your community partners on this project?
Berrien County Conservation District.
They were the specialist that attended our nature walk and helped with the presentation. He was from
Yeah, he was from,
County Conservation District.
Okay.
Was that Jared by any chance?
yes, it was.
And have you presented this as an issue to your county commissioners by chance?
We're hoping to build up to that.
We should do that.
Think about that.
Yeah.
The people for the conservation, they were talking about that last year, I remember presenting it, but right now I don't think it has that much awareness. But that's why we're trying to educate and get this out to the
We should do
public
that.
to raise that up and hopefully make a change.
That might be something you want to do next fall, is to
Mhm.
take your presentation to them and go with the conservation district and share what you've learned and what the issues are. I bet they would find it very interesting. You might get a good new partner.
And this is like the perfect time in the year to fight knotweed, since it's in bloom right now. Like it's characteristic red stalks. It's big bamboo. It's reddish. These big leaves, and it's pretty easy to spot. Like you're not gonna miss it. It's not gonna be off on the wayside. It's gonna be big shoots of red at this time.
And during the fall, it's all dead, just
Right.
big, large brown
You would not be
stalks.
able to tell what knotweed is during the winter or fall.
Interesting. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You can keep those if you want.